Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Funnel Trade. I was having a conversation with a patron a couple days ago about how to price singles on TCG Player and what my thoughts were about that and how they essentially felt kind of lost. Like, how do you even go about starting to figure out what to price at? And there's something very important to realize. It's that when you look at the prices on TCG Player, when you look at the current lowest price for a card, you look at the current market price of a card, what you're seeing is a single snapshot in time. And when I went through the Growth Accelerator program for TCG Player sellers about a year ago now, I was told something by the TCG Player employee who was taking me through the program and being my advisor during that time. And it was that they did a study at one point where they took all the sales data in their database and they broke it out for each condition and variant of a card. So say you had Murders of Karlov Manor Swamp, and you had 4 different swamps, and each one had 5 different conditions, and you had a foil and a non-foil. You multiply out all those permutations, and each of those was a separate case, and they did that across all the cards, all the conditions, all the variants, all the games, everything. So we're talking about millions of combinations. And then what they did is for every one of those permutations, they took the daily high sales price and the daily low sales price for every day for an entire year. And they compared on each individual day what was the percentage difference between the high and low sales price. So generally, how much does the market move around on cards during any given day? And what they found is that for most cards, the market's moving 5, 10, 20% in a day regularly. And that's the real big thing to understand, is that when you're looking at that instantaneous snapshot of market price or lowest ask price, it's that that's simply the number right then. Over the course of the day, that number is going to move all around. Over the course of a week, it's going to move around even more because the market will generally tend to move up or down, in addition to the kind of daily turbulence. And so when you go to price cards, you don't need to think about, oh, well, what's the current low price? Well, it's $1. Well, I'll never sell a card if I don't price it for less than $1. Well, that's not true. You could price it for $1.20. And, you'll probably sell the card, assuming it's not a standard Magic expansion and this is the week of release where the prices absolutely crash on that, okay? If it's something kind of old, something desirable, something where the market is expected to generally move up in the near future, you can price well above the current sales price. And the market will generally rise up, and eventually you will be the lowest ask price, and the cart optimizer will reward you with the sale. And the same thing with market prices. The way that I do mass box openings is I look at the EV of the box, I look at the price I can buy the sealed box for, I look at the spread between those things after fees, and I'm typically looking for at least a 20% return. Now, in between the time I order the boxes and I get them to my house to tear them down into singles and list them on TCG Player, the market can move. And what if the market moves out from under me in that time? Well, then I just price them well above market price. I maintain that 20% profit margin that I would desire for the risk I'm taking and the money I'm tying up. And I price them up there, and you know what happens every time? The cards start to sell. They start to sell that day. And they accelerate in sales over time. And then some cards won't sell for a couple of months. And depending on exactly what expansion and how long I'm willing to hold on to it, some of the cards may not sell for many months, but they'll probably sell. And so the market is not as difficult to price in as it initially seems when you start selling. The market moves around a ton, day to day, week to week, month to month. And so you don't have to price at TCG low to get a sale. And there are other nuances to this, which is what is your shipping fee, and are you in the direct program? Because when you're in the direct program, you can make sales way above market price. You can regularly sell for 10, 15, 20% over market price in the direct program because the direct program is giving you preferential shipping because TCG Player bundles the buyer's shipping together in Schenectady and sends it out in one package to the buyer. And so you get those advantages. Now, you pay higher fees, yes, but it's absolutely worth it because it moves cards like crazy. The volume of cards that you will move through direct is just unbelievable compared to only operating as a plain white envelope card business. So keep all those things in mind. Price your cards higher than you think is reasonable and let them sit for a week. The worst thing that could happen is you make a little bit fewer sales that week than you otherwise would have. But you may start to figure that you can sell for more than you had been selling for before. And sometimes it just takes a little while for the market to move up to the price that you've sat at. And sometimes that little while is days. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks. But generally, if you're selling products that you expect to appreciate in value, then the market will move up to those prices. Just recently, I've started making sales on a bunch of the ancient dragons from Baldur's Gate that I've had listed up there for 4, 5, 6 months now. I can't remember when I opened those. It was sometime over the summer. I did one last big break of Baldur's Gate collector boxes, got a bunch of dragons, priced them at like 15% over market. And then I guess I got unlucky for a couple of months and the prices mostly moved down. It was a bunch of the showcase versions that are really ugly and people don't like. But just this week, I've sold several of them. So it may take a little longer, but generally you can sell way above market low, above market price, and sometimes considerably above market price. So don't think about it too hard. Don't agonize on it too much. Just pick a price you think is a little too high and try it out. And like I said, the worst thing that can happen is that you make fewer sales for a couple of days while you attempt it. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.